Hello once again, this is Jennifer McGuire and thank you so much for visiting. Today I am sharing with you another type of stained glass effect that has sparkle to it. But this is a wonderful technique for using up any glitter you may have. I think a lot of crafters have glitter on hand and have for a long time, and I think it's time to put it to use. However, if you are not a glitter person, you could also use embossing powder for this and some other things, which I'll share along the way. I'm focusing on glitter today because I want to use some of mine up, and I have some tips for keeping it clean and making it so that the glitter doesn't rub off, and using it with lots of different types of dyes. So I'll share some examples of different variations of the technique, and hopefully you'll give this a try. Let's get started with this example. This was definitely the most fun to do, and surprisingly it doesn't take very long. For this, I used a new really cool die from Altenew called the Abstract Seascape Slim Cover Die. This is a great die for this particular technique and many others. You can use it for simple inlay techniques too. This type of frame die is great for what we're doing today, but other dies would work, which you'll see demonstrated later on. Okay, so I'm starting with cardstock, just plain heavyweight cardstock. You could use whatever color you have, and you need 2 pieces of it. I also have 2 pieces of Altenew adhesive sheets. These work really well for this technique, but any double-sided adhesive would work. Now I'm putting the adhesive sheets onto the 2 pieces of cardstock. This little thing here, I call it a corner helper. I got them off of Etsy. I'll link to them below. They're meant for getting things lined up just perfectly in the center, like getting a nice mat on something. But I just use them a lot as corners to help me layer things together, as you see me doing here. So far I have 2 pieces of cardstock with adhesive in between it. Now I'm taking the second piece of adhesive sheet and putting that on top. Now the reason I'm doing this is I want to build up some layers here. I want this to be extra thick and have adhesive on top when we die cut it. So we have cardstock on the bottom, adhesive, cardstock, and adhesive on the top. I will now put my die on the top of that and run it through my die cut machine as I normally would. Because of the layers that we have built up, it will not cut all the way through, but it'll cut through the top layers, that top adhesive sheet, and that's what we want for this technique. Now it's time to add the glitter. You could use whatever glitter you have on hand. However, I do find a fine glitter to be the best option. It seems to stick better and give more shine. Now, I have not bought glitter in a very long time. I know there are some environmental things with glitter, and everyone has different opinions on that. I just decided not to buy anymore and use what I have, but there are biodegradable glitters available now, so you can always check that out too. I will talk in a bit about the glitter that I end up choosing to use mostly in this video. In addition to the glitter, I find it very helpful to have Swiffer dusting cloths. These pick up glitter very easily. They're excellent for cleaning your hardwood floors also, but I choose not to do that. I choose to instead craft, so I use them in my craft room. We do clean. Anyways. So I take a Swiffer dusting cloth and cut it into small pieces. A little goes a long way. I also have a coffee filter because that's really easy to catch the glitter as you're working, and then you can put it back into the bottle very easily. So now let's start to add glitter. I remove the release paper from the front of our piece here in the area I want to add this particular color of glitter. It's easy to just pick off with the tip of a craft knife. So that leaves adhesive exposed there, and I'm using a little tray here. Anything would work. You'll see me try a few different things in this video to put a little bit of glitter just on that area. And I try to scrape most of the excess or tap most of the excess back into the bottle, but that coffee filter is there to catch any that misses. Once I've put the adhesive on, I either use the edge of a bone folder or my finger to really press that glitter into the adhesive. That way it will not rub off later. I then use a Swiffer dusting cloth to get off all the excess glitter, and we can move on to the next one. That dusting cloth is a huge time saver. And again, I only use a little portion, and then I can save the other pieces for future cards. So I'll continue to do this where I use my craft knife to remove a section of the release paper and then add the glitter. Now, I am using mostly Elizabeth Craft's Silk Microfine glitter today. The reason I'm using those is I have lots of them that I have from a long time ago, and it's really a great fine glitter that when you press it into the adhesive, it becomes even more shiny and it really stays put. So it's so fine that it really holds on to the adhesive very well. If you don't have many colors of glitter, you could mix different glitters together to make a new color, or you could put different color cardstock behind the adhesive, which you'll see me do later. Now with this card and most of mine today, I'm doing the entire card front with glitter, except for the frame. Now that's a lot of glitter. If you don't want that much glitter, you could just do die cut inlay on a lot of these openings and then just do some of the openings glitter, maybe just the sun. If you want to do that, you just die cut from colors of cardstock and then put the pieces of cardstock into the openings instead of the glitter. Now, for those of you who don't like glitter or don't have glitter or don't want to use glitter, you could also use embossing powder for this. I will link up here on the top right to a video where I've done a similar technique using embossing powder. After you've put the embossing powder in the areas, you could either heat set it to make it smooth or not heat set it and leave it kind of like sand. It has like a sand texture to it. Totally up to you. It works really well. Another option would be to use gold flakes. You can use that instead, or you could use like flocking material. I know that a lot of us from back in the day have little jars of flocking. That would work here too. So really there are a lot of options of what you can do with this technique. And you can see you kind of get in a rhythm and you can fill in these areas very quickly. Notice I'm mixing all of my blue excess glitter in one coffee filter. That's because I'll just save that and use it on a project when I'm done. But you could instead funnel the excess glitter back into the jar each time if you prefer. I just did this to save time, and so little glitter ends up falling out. Also, to save time when working with glitter, cleaning up as you go, it really prevents creating a big mess and what many people don't like about glitter. But if you notice, I keep it tidy in a little coffee filter. I press the glitter into the adhesive and then I wipe it up with a dusting cloth. Okay, so we're on the last section. This is a clear sparkly glitter. You could use clear sparkle embossing powder here if you wanted to. Actually, that might be a fun option because you could heat set it. And that way there would be a shine to the sky too, a smooth shine where the rest wouldn't be. So once all of the glitter is in place, I really press it in as firmly as I can with my finger to make sure that all of the glitter is stuck to that adhesive and won't rub off. And it really works well, especially if you're using a really fine glitter. You could just leave this as is and keep the glitter exposed and it won't come off. But if you want to be sure that none of the glitter comes off when the recipient gets it, you could put a piece of acetate over it. And that's what I'm going to do here. This acetate is from Fawn. They come in full-size sheets, so you can cut it down to what you need. This also adds to the shine and gives a stained glass window effect with lots of sparkle. So this is an option. You'll see me make some cards later where I don't add the acetate. Totally up to you. But now all of that glitter is protected and you have a very smooth surface here. To finish off this background, I do die cut another frame and add it on top. Now this, I couldn't decide if I wanted to do white cardstock, which is what I'm doing here, or a silver cardstock. And I decided to go with the silver because I felt like it reminded me of a stained glass window. So this silver cardstock is from a Simon Says Stamp holographic cardstock pack, and it has a little bit of texture to it. Now, you know me, I like to build up dimension. You could skip this if you want. So I die cut 2 white frames with the Altenew adhesive already on the back, and I'm gluing that on top of our background. So it'll be 2 layers of white and then the silver on the top. That just gives dimension. You could skip it if you want and just do the silver right on top of the acetate. So that's really the meat of this card. We're going to add a little bit to it. But first, let me show you how I made an envelope to fit this. The overall size of this card is about 3 by 7 in the end. So I took a 5 by 7 envelope and I'm cutting a portion off the bottom of the envelope. Then I will just take some liquid adhesive, or you could use double-sided tape, and reseal the bottom of the envelope. I've been doing a lot more unique size cards. I think it's really fun to do, and using this trick of altering an envelope is really helpful for that. All right, so let's look at the completed card and talk about that. So again, this is about 3 by 7 inches, and I put a white panel in the inside to write my personal message. Look at that sparkle underneath the acetate. I think it's such a cool look, and it really didn't take very long to put this card together. All I added to it was a die-cut bird, and that is from the same silver cardstock that I used for the frame, and then a white heat embossed sentiment strip. Super easy to do, and I love the look of this, and I'll definitely be making more of these, especially since Lila saw it and decided she wanted to make some too. Now the sentiment on there that says thinking of you is from this older Altenew flower vine stamp set, which I use a lot in videos because the sentiments are great for little sentiment strips. Now for the bird on there, I used the smallest in the set from the Altenew Feathered Friends die set. I really like this set because I like birds, and I also like that it's a unique style. I don't have any dies like this, and it's a great addition to many cards. Okay, let's do another card using the same technique, but this time I'm going to step it up and also add a shaker element to it. So it's a shaker card too. This is the Altenew Abstract Landscape cover die, that same style, crazy about it also. And this one is perfect for a normal 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. Let's start with the background. I have 2 pieces of cardstock, both with that double-sided adhesive on it. Notice that one of them is blue. That's because I want the blue cardstock to show through our clear glitter. You'll see that in a moment. So the top cardstock piece is blue, there's adhesive on top of that, and now we can run that through our die cut machine. Again, this won't cut all the way through, and we really don't want it to. That's why we built up those layers. It will cut through the adhesive though, so that you're able to do this technique. Okay, so now it's time to do that same process where you add the glitter. Again, it really doesn't take very long. Now I'm doing kind of a sunny day here, but my brother who was working by me, he suggested making this like a starry night. Wouldn't that be cool if the sky was kind of dark purple and you had little stars on it? So many ways you could use this. I am also making this card all glitter background, but if you wanted to, again, you could do just inlay of cardstock. If you don't have loose glitter or like working with loose glitter, you could also use glitter cardstocks and just inlay the pieces. But I don't know, I feel like a lot of crafters have glitter in their stash and it's time to put it to use. So you can see as I go, I kind of clean things up with that little Swiffer piece, and I press things in either with my finger or the bone folder. Those are key for making this less messy and for keeping that glitter in place. Okay, so I'm continuing to add different colors of glitter. I thought it'd be fun to do like the mountains back there in green, and then have some sand and then ocean in the front. Now for the sky, when I remove the release paper, you see that blue showing through the adhesive. So I'm adding clear glitter on that. See, I wanted a light blue sky, but I didn't have a super light blue glitter. So by doing blue cardstock behind and then clear on top, it looks like a light blue glitter. So you could always do different colors of cardstock underneath and just do clear glitter on top if you don't have a lot of colored glitters on hand. Now we can remove the release paper from the frame and start building the walls of the shaker card. So onto that, I'm adding white die cut frames. Look how cool that looks already. I ended up doing 4 white die cut frames built up. We want to build up the walls of the shaker card. So I usually do between 3 and 5 layers. The more layers you have, the more shaking that will happen because there's more room to move. Okay, so after I have added 4 of the white frame die cuts on top, we have this great card with dimension. Really looks cool as is. However, I want to add the little shaker bits inside. Now, I recommend putting the shaker bits into your background before doing the adhesive. I'm doing the opposite here, and that was a mistake. I don't know what I was thinking. It's easier to put the shaker bits in before the adhesive. Now I'm using tiny little clear cupped sequins that I've had in my stash for a long time. I believe they're from Pretty Pink Posh. And I'm trying to add them just into the sky and the ocean areas. Now it kind of got tricky because I put the adhesive already on. There's liquid adhesive on all of the white frame. So again, be sure to put your little shaker bits in first and then carefully add your liquid adhesive over all of the white frame. If you put adhesive over all of the white frame, you can be sure that your little shaker bits stay in the right areas. Now on top of that, I'm laying a piece of acetate. You can use recycled acetate, or that Lawn Fawn acetate is a good option if you need it. So I press that onto the liquid adhesive and then put something heavy on it while it dries. Now once it's dry, I finish off the background by adding one more white die cut on top just to give it a finished look. And I did put double-sided adhesive on that white cardstock before I die cut it so I could easily add it on top. Now for the sentiment on this, I used a new die cut set from Altenew. I love this. This is called All About You word die set. It has lots of words in here and the shadows for the words. So the words in here are you, rock, miss, hello, love, and amazing, and hey. So you can put different little messages together. I decided to use the word amazing on this card. Along with the word amazing, I stamped UR onto a little cardstock strip, and the UR is from this Altenew Daffodil outline stamp set. That little sentiment strip will get glued right above the word amazing, so I have the sentiment that says you are amazing. The word amazing, I die cut the shadow from white cardstock and the word from black so that it'll really stand out on the background. But I didn't add anything else to this card. I really felt like it didn't need anything, and you have those little sequins moving around in the background. So check out all of the sparkle in this card. I think it's really fun, and it would be a nice surprise to someone when they take it out of an envelope. But if you're anti-glitter, you could definitely have just used cardstock instead of the glitter, or you could again use embossing powders. It's just such a fun technique. Okay, this next example looks really involved, but it really isn't because this technique makes it so easy. And the entire background is not glitter. I did some areas white cardstock, so this is a combination of the two. For this, I'm using the new detailed Peeking Leaves cover die from Altenew. What's really cool about this die is if you notice, it cuts a thin frame around the outside edge, making it perfect for a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. So we'll start the process just like we have done with the other examples, where I have 2 pieces of cardstock with adhesive sheet on it. I put those together and then die cut from the side with the adhesive sheet. Once we remove the die cut, we can start doing our inlay. Now on this card, I want the background to be white. So I'm starting with that first. So this is white cardstock. So I use the die to cut from white cardstock, and I'm taking the background pieces and inlaying them onto our project. So you can see how I remove the release paper from our project to expose the adhesive. Then I take the little white die cut pieces and I pop them in place. This technique is called inlay. There really aren't that many background pieces. Doesn't take very long to do. Next, I use the background die and I cut it from a shiny cardstock. I'm removing the release paper from the frame and then adding that shiny frame right onto the adhesive. This is kind of a greenish silver cardstock. It's from Tonic, and I thought it looked nice with the green glitter. So far we have our solid white cardstock background, our shiny frame. Now we can do the glitter. Now on the other examples I started with the glitter. It really doesn't matter. But since most of this was just cardstock inlay, I decided to start with that first this time. Now it seems daunting to do all of the glitter leaves, but it doesn't take long. All you do is pop out the release paper off of whatever leaves you want for a certain color of glitter, add the glitter, press it in place, and then move on to the next ones. Now, if you don't have multiple colors of green glitter, you could make all the leaves the same, or you could have started with a green cardstock in the background and then just use clear glitter so your leaves would appear green. Or you could use a clear glitter and then use alcohol ink to paint color onto it, or Copic markers. If you use your Copic markers to color your glitter, I don't recommend coloring back and forth. I just recommend dabbing the tip on it to apply the color. You don't want to damage the nub of your markers. But if you do have different colors of glitter, you could do this. And who says all your leaves have to be green anyways? You could do some silver, you could do some gold, and just do a little mix. So now it's time to go to my next color. So I just pop out the little release paper pieces, add the glitter, and repeat the process until all of the leaves are done. And again, before moving on to anything else, really press that glitter in with your finger. Just rub across as firmly as possible, wipe off to make sure there's no excess, and there we have a fun background. And one thing I really like about this particular die is you can see that thin gold frame, that greenish gold shiny frame around the outside edge. Love that finishing touch. Now finishing this off is very easy. I'm gluing it onto a green note card that is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and then stamping a sentiment with black ink towards the top center. And it's from that Simply the Best stamp set that you see on the left. I use the sentiments in that set a lot in videos. Now I did add a bird to this again from the Feathered Friends die set from Altenew, and I cut that also from that shiny green cardstock from Tonic. So here's a closer look. Look how pretty that glitter is. I'm just crazy about this look. And then you have that bright white background. And although this background die has a lot of detail to it, the way we do the technique makes it very quick to add the different colors of glitter. So look at your stash. Look at dies that you have with lots of detail openings or large openings like we did on the first examples. Many background dies or large dies with detail work great for this technique. Okay, this next card is actually quite simple, although it doesn't look that way. And I wanted to show you that background dies with like a repeating pattern are great for this. This is a new background die from Altenew. It's 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and I thought it'd be fun to do different colors in the open areas. Another idea for this one would be to do cardstock inlay in some of the open areas and glitter in other open areas. Many ways you can use a die like this with this technique. Now this time I thought it'd be best to start with the frame that I want to be solid white cardstock. So I removed the release paper from the frame area. I have a white die cut frame and I'm popping that right in place. So this is just a basic inlay. Now all of those openings I'll do in different colors of glitter. I could do random areas of color here and there, but I decided to do a pattern. So I removed the release paper kind of from lines of openings, and I'm adding green glitter to that. This time I decided to use my craft knife to apply the glitter to those areas and kind of spread it out. Any kind of tool with the small point would work for this. So after I applied green to all of this, I'll press that in place, wipe it clean, and move on to the next areas, removing the release paper, adding the glitter, and repeating the process. I'll skip through all of this since it's the same process that we've done many times, and I end up with this background of blue and green glitter, and it has a nice white frame around it. I then can cut off the excess, and we're ready to make this into a card in many different ways. I decided to go with the technique I did at the beginning of this video, where I add acetate over it and then a frame on top of that to finish it off. I just really like the look of the glitter behind the acetate. And remember that technique that I showed you in one of my previous videos, a recent one, I'll link to it up here on the top right, where you can add color to your acetate with permanent markers or alcohol ink and then have glitter behind it to create a really sparkly stained glass effect. You could combine that with this technique too. So there are many ways you can use this technique creatively and use them with different products you already have. I didn't want to add a lot to this because I wanted the background to show. So instead, I just white heat embossed 3 sentiments on black cardstock strips and added it towards the top center. So with this, you can see how you can use your background dies that have patterns to create something really dynamite that stands out. Okay, my last example shows how you can use just basic clear glitter for this technique and get a multicolored look. So this is great if you only have basic clear fine glitter. I'm starting with a piece of white cardstock and I'm applying some Distress Oxide inks, kind of doing a bit of a rainbow look coming out from the top center. You could use absolutely any inks you want for this, any inking tools, it doesn't matter at all. You could use pattern paper, colored cardstock, anything. The point is to add as much color as possible, and then this will show through our clear glitter. Notice I am not taking much effort to blend this. This is a very forgiving technique. So just get the color down, but don't worry about the blending. Once you're done, you'll want to heat set this so it's dry. We're going to put adhesive on top of it, an adhesive sheet, and it'll stick better if this is completely dry. Okay, so now I have a piece of double-sided adhesive and I'm laying that right on top of our inked color. Remember, this adhesive sheet is somewhat clear. It has a little bit of a cloudiness to it, but it'll allow the color to show through. Okay, so we're going to do the same process we did before. You start with a piece of cardstock, put an adhesive sheet on it, then our colorful piece of cardstock with the adhesive sheet on it on top of it. So we're creating that sandwich that'll give it some thickness so that when we run it through our die cut machine, the die won't cut through it all. Okay, so now I am removing all of the little heart openings, just using the tip of my craft knife to remove them. It's really quick and easy to do, especially the bigger pieces. Once I've removed all of that, I'm adding clear glitter on top. This is one of the very fine, clear, sparkly glitters, and I'm just kind of moving it around to kind of cover that entire surface. So what happens is the ink that we have behind that Altenew adhesive sheet will show through our clear glitter. It will soften it, of course, because there's an adhesive sheet and glitter on top of it, but you end up with this beautiful pastel glittery background. By the way, this technique would work with a clear glitter gel or paste if you have those instead. Just wipe that across the whole surface, then remove the outline release paper and pop a white die cut on top, and check that out. So there are many ways you can do this technique. Now for finishing this off, I just die cut 3 white hearts and glued them together at the top center. I also die cut Hello from the word die set I showed you earlier and Simon Says Stamp holographic cardstock. I like that holographic cardstock really catches the color of whatever is around it, and so it seems to match everything. Now I did add this to a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch note card. You can see the beautiful colors showing through that sparkly glitter, and it looks like you have lots of colors of glitter, but really you just used an ink blending tool for the color. Now the dearest friend I got from this Altenew Statement Flower stamp set. I like to dig through all of my stamps and look for the small sentiments so I can get more use from my sets. All right, there you have a fun way to use up that glitter that's probably been sitting in your drawer for quite some time. I hope you'll try this technique. It really works well with a lot of different dyes. If you're interested in the products I used here, they are linked below in my YouTube description, and you can go over to my blog for lots of photos, and you'll be able to bookmark the cards so you can refer back to them later. Also in the middle here, I have a couple other videos that I referred to during this one, and I hope those are helpful too. Thanks so much once again for spending this time with me today, and we'll see you again soon with another video.